Hey, it's your girl LorenEleece, and we're back with another episode of Wait, Run That Back? In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the movie The Terminal. And I already told you on the last video that we were going to watch this, so hopefully you had the chance to go ahead and watch it. If you haven't, make sure you go onto Amazon Prime. Yes, you do have to rent it, or you can also rent it on YouTube. I saw that as well. But make sure that you watch the movie first and then come back and watch this video. If you are new to my channel and you have never seen any of my videos, hey, my name is LorenEleece, and what we do here is we are a community of people who watch amazing movies and we have no one to share it with, so we share it with one another. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all at LorenEleece. Within this video, I'm going to post an emoji that you can use to go and comment onto any of my social media platforms so I can know that you actually checked out this video. I'm not going to tell you when I'm going to do it. My previous videos, I have put it towards the end, but I would not be doing that going forward because I want y'all to actually watch this video and actually see the emoji at some point in time, okay? If you see me glance over this way, it's because I have notes all about the movie. When I watch the movies, I'm over here typing, pausing, typing, just so I can give y'all the best information possible when describing the movie to you. So that is why I'm looking this way, or if I look down or something. I don't know where my laptop is in the camera, but that's where I'm looking. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of the movie in case you haven't seen it yet and you're still watching this video. The Terminal came out in 2004, and it's produced and directed by Steven Spielberg. And it's starring some amazing people. I kind of say that in all my movies, but I think I'm more shocked at these movies that I am finding, and they're so amazing. And I'm surprised by who's in it. And maybe I just didn't know about the movie. It wasn't marketed very well, or maybe it's such an old movie that, you know, it was before my generation. So that's why I'm always shocked. But this movie had an amazing cast. It has Tom Hanks, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Stanley Tucci. Hopefully I said his name correctly. We have Chi McBride, Barry Henley, Zoe Saldana, and Diego Luna. I mean, just from that alone, like, star-studded, obviously, this cast. I wonder if they knew they were star-studded since this movie is before my generation. I'm curious if y'all knew how popular they were back then, or it was now that they became popular. Regardless of the fact, they're popping now, okay? This movie is partially based off of a true story. It's not a true story, but this movie is actually inspired by a guy named, I hope I'm saying his name correctly because I can butcher this. It's Mehran Karimi Nazari. He stayed 18 years. 18 years in Terminal 1 of the Paris airport from 1988 to 2006. Like, guys, can you imagine staying in an airport for 18 years? That's insane. But the movie is not based off of him. It's just an inspired by story. So the movie is about Victor Dvorsky, and he arrives to JFK. Now, we all know JFK is based in New York City. A war breaks out in his country right before he lands. So while he was in the air, a war breaks out in the country. So when he touches down, he's caught up in a bunch of international politics. So because of the war, legally, he is not allowed into the United States, but he can't go home either. So he ends up living in JFK indefinitely. And mind you, this man doesn't speak a lick of English, okay? So the movie focuses on his stay and can he get home? Better yet, when can he go home? So that's our brief synopsis. And here's a little fun fact, right? There wasn't any airport that would allow them to film this movie. So they had to build an entire set inside a large hangar at the Palmdale, like, Los Angeles Regional Airport. And the outside and exterior shots were actually taken from the Montreal International Airport. So it's crazy that the whole movie, they built that set. To the people who are not new to my page and new to my videos, I truly try to give y'all a happier movie. So that is why I did pick this movie to be next. because I just felt like we already watched the inevitable defeat of Mr. and Pete. We already watched Unbroken. Like, both of those movies were sad. The founder pissed us off, right? And so this movie, I was like, we need something like a little bit more happy. Like, even though I love true story movies, they're typically sad. And any other movies that I have on the list, they can be sad or very controversial. So I want to like kind of like switch it up some. So this is why I gave y'all The Terminal. All right, now spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this movie, you can go watch this movie on Amazon Prime. You do have to rent it though. It's not free on Amazon Prime. You have to rent it. Or you can rent it on YouTube. Those are the only two places I saw that you can watch this movie. If you know somewhere else you can watch this movie for free, please put it down in the comments below so that way everyone else knows where they can watch it. I would prefer y'all didn't have to pay for it, but it is worth the $4 you may pay for it on Amazon Prime. The movie starts off showing the process and questions to go through customs. And they make it seem so easy in this movie. And let me tell you, the line is what makes customs long, okay? But, you know, essentially when you do go through customs, the questions that they ask you are very simple and easy. You just hope that they don't pull you to the side and have to ask you more questions, because those are just either random or they're suspicious of you, right? Tom Hanks plays the main character, Victor Navrosky. I'm probably going to call him Victor throughout this movie because I don't know if I'm really accurately saying his last name correctly, so I'm going to just stick with Victor because that's easy for me. He is captured at customs, and we see he doesn't speak, if any, English. Why don't they give him a translator? Like, at any point in this movie, they never gave this man a translator. And I never understood that. Considering that the terminal that they're in is the international terminal and you never have a translator that can speak multiple languages, that's absurd to me. Like, all day long, y'all are dealing with foreigners. Why don't you have people to deal with foreigners and speak their language so you can translate? Okay, that was just a random thought of mine. Victor meets Stanley Tucci's character, Frank Dixon, who is the acting field commissioner of the airport. And he explains to him what has happened while Frank was flying in the air on his way to New York. Victor is from a country called Krakozia. Now, I did not know this because, of course, this is new information for me. I thought that was a real country until I did some research and actually learned that it's a fictional country. I don't know if y'all knew that, but I didn't know that. So I was like, oh, dang, all this time I'm thinking it's a real country. I was like, you know, it's not. Joke's on me. Victor was flying from Krakozia to New York. There was a military coup. If you don't know what a military coup is, basically it's armed forces that take control of the administration of the country. So basically the military is trying to throw out the current government or their system. Because of this coup, Victor's government suspended all traveling privileges. So there's no flights in the country and out the country. Talking about Krakozia. There's no flights in, no flights out. And also because of the military coup, U.S. does not recognize Krakozia's new government. So U.S. State Department revoked visas from allowing anybody from Krakozia, which would include Victor, from allowing him to enter the United States. So there's no entering and exiting the U.S. Frank Dixon said it best. He says, you're a citizen of nowhere, because his passport is no longer considered valid anywhere. So not in the United States. He can't even fly to a different country, fly to a different city, nowhere, because he would need his passport. And it's not valid anywhere. So he is literally trapped at the airport until the war is over. And who knows when that war is going to be over. U.S. Customs and Border Protection seize his passport and they make his return ticket pending until there's a resolution. Barry Henley's character, Officer Judge Thurman, we're going to see him throughout the movie. He gives Victor food vouchers because the man has no money. And if he does have money, which we don't know since we now know is a fictional country, he has Krakosia money, so it doesn't work here. You need American dollars. They give him a 15-minute prepaid calling card. Like, that is not long enough to talk to your family who is back at home while you're in another country and they're at war. They give him a pager and an ID badge to go into Homeland Security's offices or to go into customs or whatever he needs to do. When he actually walks into the terminal, that's when he sees TV screens everywhere and he finally understands what's going on because the TVs are playing the news. However, though, the news is in English. He still doesn't speak a lick of English. So all he sees is the name of his country and is like, wait, hold up, what's going on? And some of these TVs don't even have sound. So he goes into this one lounge and then they kick him out because he's not a member of the lounge. Like, sir, you see him trying to watch the news. Okay, like, let him just look at it first. He's clearly distraught. He's crying. I mean, I don't know what that feels like to see that your country's at war. I would imagine it probably feels the same way if you were somewhere else in a different country when that thing that happened 2 to 3 years ago, the COVID, I hear you can't talk about it on YouTube, so that's why I'm spelling it out. But that thing, and you was like trapped in another country, that is what he's feeling. The only difference is you can't go into their country either. And I just felt bad for Victor because he's just so distraught and no one is really trying to help him. This is the beginning of us watching Victor figure out life as he knows it in the airport. We see him trying to help a teenager with her suitcase, but he breaks it instead. I understood in this one part, since he doesn't speak English and he probably didn't understand the value of what he had, but why did he put those meal vouchers down and put it on a bench? I don't know. I felt like throughout this entire movie, whether it be with him or Amelia, and we'll get to her soon enough, but everyone was putting down their suitcases and papers and just everywhere. Like, people steal, and they just, to me, went through this movie like people don't steal. Even like when he was running up the escalator and he threw his suitcase just onto the escalator to come up as he was running up. Like, he puts down his meal vouchers and they blow off. And the janitor, we now finally meet him. His name is Gupta. Is it Rajan or Rahan? Whatever. And he's played by Kumar Pilana. He picks it up and he throws it away. Pew, throws it away. He wouldn't even allow Victor to go in the trash can. Like, I feel like if I'm a janitor or a trash man, whatever, and I'm picking up stuff and someone may have noticed I picked up the wrong things, why wouldn't I just allow them to, like, oh, my bad, go ahead, check it. It was weird that he was just like, nah, you know, and then that's when he does this whole, do you have an appointment, and makes a fake appointment with him for Tuesday. Like, let me get my trash out right now. I don't know, it's weird because with people who are foreigners, just because we speak 2 different languages, it's like, because Victor did not try to push to get into, like, why would you wait? Because he was like Monday, Tuesday, so he knew it would be a couple of days. I don't know why he would wait to try and get stuff and not push it a little bit further. Like, if someone did it in his country, I'm sure he wouldn't just be like, oh, okay, Tuesday, I'll come back for my trash on Tuesday. Like, that's weird. Meanwhile, he finds a lounge that's deserted. It's under construction or renovation, and he makes it his new home. This really shows what hell you have to go through living or being at the airport. I know I personally have been trapped at the airport. Specifically, it was in Atlanta. I could not get home to Houston because I think it was a hurricane, or if not, it was just a lot of raining going on, and I was trapped there for several days at the airport. Those chairs, those seats, all that stuff is not comfortable at all. And the airport is freezing, okay? Freezing. So if you do have to sleep in the airport, it's like, hopefully you have something, very much something, blanket, pillow, even a little bag or something, so that way you at least stay warm, I guess. I mean, even with the seats at the airport are beyond uncomfortable. To me, y'all know enough people have spent the night here at the airport to be having these hard cushion, if there's any cushion in it, chairs, and then gonna have an armrest in between each one. Like, y'all can't have no benches anywhere so I can lay down comfortably? Like, I get it. Maybe they don't want us to be comfortable because they don't want us to stay the night at the airport. But considering that it happens every day because flights get changed, flights get delayed, whatever, weather is bad. Like, y'all don't even try to be accommodated anymore. Not even anymore. Let me not say that. Not anymore. Y'all don't try to be accommodated at all. We learned that Frank Dixon is getting a promotion and he doesn't want to mess this up. And he's going to be monitored by the two departments and inspected. So he has to be at the tip top of his game right now. On the other hand, Victor is over here figuring out life. I mean, he's walking through the terminal in a bathrobe. He's showering in the sink. On a day-to-day basis, he has to go meet Zoe Saldana's character, Dolores Torres. She's an immigration officer. The very first time he sees her, she goes through the process of what he has to do. He has to fill out this light green paper and then present it to her for her to stamp denied or approve. Basically, she is the update to see if something new has changed in his country. And the first stamp of denial was dated January 17, 2004. So keep that in your head. Secretly in the next scene, Thurman and Dixon are observing Victor because they are shocked that he's still there. I don't know why he's shocked. He told him he can't leave, but I guess he really thought that if he wanted to, he could just go out into New York and just be an illegal immigrant in the United States. But Victor follows the rules. So Dixon becomes determined at this point to get Victor out of the airport because he doesn't want to mess up his promotion. He just wants to make Victor someone else's problem. But if this is after 9/11, how would he see Dolores to check his status? He would need a ticket to get into the airport, and he can't even get a ticket because they're holding his documentation. So how would he get those updates if he would have just left? So it's like, Dixon, you wasn't thinking when you made that comment, you know? Victor finds Gupta, it's Tuesday, only to find out, obviously, that whole thing was BS. And I love seeing that Victor was starting to get better with his English. And he's able to tell him, like, hey, food document, you set appointment, where's my meal vouchers? And they're gone. Gupta doesn't even know what he's talking about, but they're just gone. So Victor is hungry and broke, and he gets the cheapest or free thing that he can find, which is like crackers and ketchup or mustard or whatever, both. Who knows? I just never understood why he didn't make an attempt to go back to the Homeland Security's office so that way they could give him some new ones. Although Frank Dixon probably wouldn't even offer him anymore because he's so concerned about getting him out of the airport that he wouldn't even be like, here's some more meal vouchers so you don't starve to death. Nonetheless though, Dixon comes up to Victor and sets up a window of opportunity for Victor to leave. Of course it'll be illegal, but you can leave. However though, they spook him before he could even do it. Because they were using those motion control cameras, they screwed up the whole operation. I think if they wouldn't have had those cameras, Victor would have left. But see, Victor was like, oh, hold up, why y'all watching me? Why? And I'm glad Victor was smart and could sense that there was a camera following him and twirling and stuff. I don't know why they would do that. They messed up their own operation by doing that. But I mean, it's not like these were very discreet cameras. This is a big old tube camera that's like swirling around, and of course it's going to make that humming noise as it's moving. Like, that was dumb, but hey, whatever. I'm glad Victor ended up staying. Victor then meets the flight attendant, Miss Amelia Warren, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, who's in such a rush, she busts her ass and breaks her heel on a wet floor. I mean, like, too bad she can't even sue because there were signs. He helps her up and gives her a Payless coupon. You know what's crazy? Payless is gone. Like that shoe store was around for so long, and it's just crazy that now it's gone. He gives her a Payless coupon as she's going up the escalator. Unfortunately, at the top of the escalator, she starts making out with this dude named Max. And the janitor, Gupta, was observing the whole time. I don't know if it's Gupta or Gupta, but either way, I think it's Gupta. Gupta goes back and reports to his friends his suspicions. This is our first introduction to Chai McBride, who plays Joy Mulroy, and Diego Luna, who plays Enrique Cruz. Gupta is so suspicious of Victor that he tells the boys, like, I believe Victor is part of the CIA and he is here to spy on us. And that Amelia chick, the flight attendant, yep, she's KGB, because their interaction was a secret trade-off. Like, it was in code or something. So like, nah man, nah, you tripping. But that's what Gupta believes. Victor is a clever man, though. He's very, very clever throughout this movie. But particularly this next scene, you really see it. He's hungry, and remember, there's no vouchers. The meal vouchers are gone. He doesn't get no new ones. So he figures out a way to make money. And he sees somebody return a luggage cart, and they get a quarter back. He figures out, if he returns the luggage carts, he can get a quarter back. So this prompted him to like start collecting all the luggage throughout the airport, and he's getting quarters on quarters back. This must have been a good time in life, because I have never seen a burger, a nice size, look like Burger King burger for 75 cents. I mean, that's just, please take me back to those times when rent was cheap, gas was $1, and burgers are 75 cents, okay? He's knocking kids off and everything just to get enough quarters to get a whole meal. Meanwhile, he's trying to understand the American news referring to his country. So he ends up getting like books and magazines to teach himself English. And this is why I said, like, this whole scene, we see how clever he is. Up above, Frank Dixon creates a new job position to prevent Victor from picking up the luggage carts so he can get quarters. He's basically trying to starve Victor so that way there's no choice but for him to run out the door and go into New York City. This only forces Victor to go back to the crackers and ketchup. At the same time, he sees Amelia and Max again. They flash us over to Enrique, whom we see has been observing Victor as well. And he one night introduces himself to Victor, and he propositions him with a deal. Enrique has a huge crush on Dolores, and Victor goes and speaks to her every day with that form to get the update if he could go into another country or get into the United States or whatever. Knowing this information and knowing that Victor sees Dolores every day, he propositions Victor with a deal. He'll feed him if he talks to Dolores for him. And I'm gonna be honest, I hated the plot line between Dolores and Enrique. It just didn't make sense to me. And I feel like it's kind of like that old school dating, but at the same time it's like, I don't know, I don't find it cute that a man can't approach me and try to get to know me himself, but instead you send your friend to get all the information out of me. If it wasn't for Victor's personality and charisma, how would that information even, came out of me? Like, what if I thought Victor was a weirdo? So how would you get to know me? I don't know. All that is just weird to me. I just didn't like that plot line, but I guess. One more point to that. is you're basically like trying to align your interests with my interests, versus we're speaking to one another and we figure out we both like the same things, or etc. One day, finally, the pager goes off, right? Because I've been like curious, what's going to happen when this pager goes off? Victor runs and skids through Gupta's wet traps just to get back to the Homeland Security office. This is now another ploy where Frank Dixon is trying to convince Victor to do something that he doesn't cooperate with. So this particular time, Frank is trying to, not only did he try to feed him, so he obviously did not know how Victor was getting fed, because Victor didn't accept the sandwich that he tried to offer him. But initially, obviously, Frank was trying to bribe him. Dixon then tries to get Victor to leave. And the way he tries to get him to leave is he tries to get him to claim asylum. So basically, if he says, I am fearful of Krakosia, then Victor will be able to claim asylum. But it doesn't work, because who in their right mind, if they're from a certain place, would say, I'm fearful of the country? If anything, I'm fearful of the people who's trying to attack the country, or fearful of the people who's trying to attack the government. I'm not going to say I'm fearful of my country, or fearful. That'll be like me saying I'm fearful of Texas. I'm not fearful of Texas. I'm from Texas. Now, do I know what to do or not to do in Texas? Absolutely, but I wouldn't say I'm fearful. You get what I'm saying? So that's kind of how Victor was. He refused to say, I don't even think he really understood to even say that. I think he was like thinking in his mind, like, I'm supposed to be telling you my worst fears, and my worst fears is ghosts, or my worst fears is snakes or spiders, or etc. You know. So that didn't work. It obviously failed due to Victor not claiming that he is scared of his own country. Upon Victor seeing Amelia again, us viewers learns when she's on the phone and, you know, crying and stuff, is that her man Max is married, yes, with the wife, and he has made Amelia take 1,000,001 planes, come all the way back to New York City, only for him to reject her and say he wants to stay with his wife. And then that's when she also reveals that she also knows that he just went on vacation with his wife because he uses the same airline that she works for. The crazy part of all of that is she's telling Victor not only does she sleep with him despite knowing he's married, she also encouraged this man to stay with his wife. But then she opens up to a stranger, i.e. Victor, whom she doesn't even remember. She does not even remember him from giving the Payless coupon, but yet she still turns around and tells him that she loves his dick. Not Victor's dick, but Max's dick. Ma'am, maybe it's, if you just could shut your mouth just a little bit. I mean, she's just talking way too much. She did try to invite Victor on a date, which maybe at this point she's just so embarrassed, egg on her face, that Max stood her up, so she's just trying to fill that void that she's already feeling. But nonetheless, she does ask Victor on a date for cannolis. I couldn't even understand him when he initially said it. I thought he said candlelight, because he asked the worker how much does it cost for and it sounded like he said candlelight. It did not sound like Amelia or Victor was saying cannoli. It wasn't until later on in the movie that I was like, oh, he says cannoli. But the fact that he believed, well, he wouldn't know any better, but the fact that that woman, girl, whatever, whoever she was, told him you could get a meal like that. And once again, in my head, I'm thinking candlelit dinner. The fact that she would even say it only costs $40, like, no, no offense, but Amelia doesn't look like the type of chick who you could just get a 2 for $20 at Chili's. You know, she's going to have several, if not, well, she's not going to just have one glass of wine. She's probably going to have 2 or 3 glasses of wine. And it's probably going to be, you know, do they call it top shelf for wines if it's like uppity and aged and all that? Do they call that top shelf? I don't know. But nonetheless, she's not going to go with no cheap wine. None of that. So that was already like kind of absurd. Like $40 for a candlelit or even a cannoli dinner. I mean, a real good cannoli, which y'all know what cannoli is, right? It's a long tube that they stuff with cheese and sauce. You know, yeah. Where are we getting that from? Olive Garden? 'Cause, well, hold up now. The year is 2004, and I ain't gonna lie, Olive Garden was busting probably around that time, because I know when I was in high school, we would go to Chili's, we would go to Olive Garden as teenagers, so maybe it was busting. Now, let me not knock them, but I'm just saying, to really go to a fancy New York restaurant and get a cannoli, you ain't spending no $40. That's already like minimum $150 date. Like, if he gets a glass of wine, she gets a glass of wine, side salad, food. I mean, I am meant to be back in this time period. Like, because life is just lifing too much. It's too expensive. Because of Amelia asking him on this date and he wasn't able to go due to his circumstances, Victor goes out of his way. He's very adamant trying to find a job within the airport. And once again, this man is resourceful, because this man didn't have an address, no social security number, no phone number, no driver's license, no none of that. But this one job was like, okay, we don't have a phone number. He goes and then gets the pay phone numbers, a phone number, so that way he could just sit there and wait for the pay phone to ring. I think I was so in awe about Victor that it just blew my mind at how resourceful he is, because I don't know if I would be the same way, being a foreigner, come from a different country. We don't have, mind you, there is no technology. There is no cell phones, no laptops. Well, there are, but you know, it's not like the iPhone we have today. It's not the MacBook that we have today. So for him to figure things out seemingly very quickly, I mean, we obviously don't know how much time has passed in between these scenes, but seemingly very quickly he is figuring out things, so like just at the drop of the dime, you know? I wanted to point out, you know, this movie has a little bit of BS, because what airport do you know gets that dark? I don't care if it's closing hours or not, because I think after like, if you're on the West Coast, I think the last time a flight flies out is like, it's a red eye. Yeah, duh. It's a red eye, so it's midnight. But that's because if they land on, you know, in the Midwest or the South or in the East Coast, it's going to be like 12 o'clock. It's going to be, not 12 o'clock. It's going to be like 6 a.m. So that's the reason why they allow that. But on the East Coast, the latest flight is like 7 o'clock, unless it's only like an hour flight. But if you're going more than like 2 or 3 hours, yeah, the last flight is normally like around 7 o'clock. And it still does not get dark like that. They don't turn off the lights. You are literally sleeping in an airport and it's bright as I don't know what. Like, you don't even want to look at their electricity bill because it's expensive. That same night, randomly, Victor renovates a wall in the renovation zone, and even to my surprise, he was able to do it so beautifully. I don't know who told him to do that design or paint it that color. Like, no, he didn't have no rules or instructions. He just did it. But for him, it turned out to be a good thing, because it landed him a job with the airport contractor construction team. where he gets paid underneath the table. So it was like, okay. Amelia kept trying to guess, or like she hears Victor, but she really is kind of like confused because of his lack of English. But he tries to tell her what he does, even maybe just a little try not to tell her what he does or explain thoroughly his situation. But I really do wonder, when he goes back home to Kokoja, what does he do for a living? Because he's too smooth with a lot of stuff, like construction, all that. I'm starting to really think he really is a construction worker. Now, we haven't seen Enrique in quite a while, but he randomly pops up, and hopefully he's still paying Victor food. I mean, because I thought the whole deal was is you talk to Dolores for me and I feed you. So did that stop? Was there a pause? Would you still feed him, Victor? We want to know. But he draws up a map for Victor to meet him and Gupta and Joe to play poker using lost luggage items. Gupta still believes that Victor is a CIA spy. So they make him go through an x-ray because he thought there was a microphone up Victor's butt. And all I gotta say to that is they better not have damaged Victor by using the x-rays in the x-ray scanner, because they didn't have no protection on him. He's a human. The radiation is super dangerous. That's why they put that big heavy vest on you depending on where you're getting x-rayed. While they're playing poker, this is our first time actually acknowledging Victor's planters can, which, as we know, planters is nuts. But he says there's no nuts in here. It's jazz. No one knows what the heck that means, so we were all confused. I honestly didn't even know he was saying jazz. I don't know what I thought he was saying. Like, his accent was so heavy. And just a fun fact with that, so Tom Hanks in real life, his father-in-law speaks like a lot of different languages. One of them being Bulgarian, like Russian, French, Spanish, all these different languages. So he actually got assistance from his father-in-law for this role. I mean, he also had someone who actually spoke, I don't know what language that is. Like I said, I think it's Bulgarian. I'm assuming it's Bulgarian because that's what he said his father-in-law spoke. But he also had a person who was fluent and was like a translator to help him with this role. But I thought that was a fun fact. Victor and Amelia meet again, and there's an interesting convo between them. They're actually speaking about Napoleon. And Napoleon, which I don't know much about Napoleon, I'm going to be honest. The only thing I know about Napoleon is he was short and he was angry. That is all. Apparently, though, Napoleon, according to Amelia, and that's all I have to reference on it, is his ego was so big that he was digesting poison, but his body never failed him and just kept fighting off the poison. As they keep talking, Victor compares Amelia to Napoleon because Amelia keeps talking about like the reason why she's still with Max. The problem that I had with the comparison between Amelia and Napoleon is we don't know if Napoleon thought something was wrong or even hinted that there was something wrong. What we do know is he kept taking it and believed there was nothing wrong, and his body fought it off. That's what we do know. Amelia is different, in my opinion. Amelia is different because she knows that Max is not good for her. To me, she is more hooked on him like drugs than she is like blind to the situation at hand. Does that make sense? Like, for example, we all know drugs is bad. Amelia also knows drugs is bad. Now, Napoleon seems to think drugs is not bad and keeps taking it despite any side effects, despite feeling a certain way, he takes it and his body fights it off. So he's never affected by the drugs. Amelia knows the drugs is bad, still continues to take it, and then just be like, ugh, why do I keep taking these drugs? Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why I didn't like the comparison. Interestingly, in the following scene with Frank and Officer Thurman, Frank figures out how much Victor is getting paid underneath the table, which is $19 an hour. Can we pause there? Time out. That is considered, I guess in 2004, that is considered amazing money. That even Frank said is more than what Frank gets in his role at Homeland Security. And I just was like, that's crazy. I know plenty of construction workers, and I also used to live in New York, so I know a lot of people who was part of the union in New York. When I lived in New York, the rate was like $50 an hour. Insane. But still people who wasn't in the union was making like 25 to 30 something an hour. The fact that Victor in 2004 was getting paid $19 an hour, and number two was getting paid more than Frank at Homeland Security. Wow. That's all I got to say. Wow. I think learning how much Victor got paid and just seeing how resourceful Victor is, it pisses Frank off that he detains him with no reason. He does try calling everybody to see if somebody else can take him and make it their problem. Doesn't work. So Dixon, who, y'all know I'm using Frank and Dixon just interchangeably here. Dixon, who is being considered for a promotion, becomes more and more obsessed with getting rid of Victor, And in a random observation by his superiors, Dixon shows how good he is at his job. He truly is amazing at his job, because that guy who was importing the that guy who was importing that, and they had put it into the walnuts, I'm not even gonna lie to you, that was low-key genius. I would have never thought, never guessed, never nothing. It wasn't until after they arrested that man that Dixon actually explained what made him question it. He said he doesn't have a ring on his finger, so he must have been divorced. And if he's divorced, who the heck talks to their mother-in-law willingly? Even then, that's not something that just, in my opinion, comes across the average person's mind. I still would be thinking like, oh yeah, his mother-in-law gave him the walnuts. It wasn't until like a couple of years ago that I even learned that you could actually bring food through TSA. I mean, they go so crazy over water and liquids and stuff. I do know there's certain things it can't contain, but nonetheless, that much at least I do know. A situation breaks out. A guy was transporting some medication, and he is not allowed to keep this medicine because there needs to be a form filled out for medicinal purchases, right? And they don't confirm this, but we know this based on after this scene, that this medicine is for this man's father. But this man is ready to kill himself. Like he was ready to kill himself over this medicine. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, how is that going to help you? Like, you want this medicine to your father, so you would much rather kill yourself that you couldn't deliver this medicine versus at least seeing your father and at least apologizing. Something like, I don't know, I thought something was weird about it. I don't think I'm wrong about it either, but I don't know if that medicine was really for his dad. I can see if it be for a drug dealer or something like that, because it's like, yeah, you would want to kill yourself rather than deal with them trying to kill you, but dad, I don't think so. Because of where this man is from is somewhere near or somewhere in the vicinity of this eastern country that's fictional called Krakosia. And they use Victor to try and translate or be a translator for this man. So they pull him out of detainment and they're like, hey, work with him. So Victor talks to them. Somehow they're able to understand. I mean, I don't know how that works. Like, just because my country and your country is like side by side, that does not mean that I know what you're saying. I mean, unless it's kind of like us in Canada, because Canadians kind of like speak a little differently, but for the most part they speak English too. So I don't know, but I guess, hey, whatever, it works. We all know Dixon is a hard ass for rules. So he's like, no, you can't, he can't bring this medicine in. If this is for his dad, he can't do it, he can't do it, he can't do it. Now, I don't know why they would detain him for it. Like, why can't y'all just throw this medicine out unless they think he's, peddling drugs? I don't understand why they won't let him, why they had to detain him over the situation. But nonetheless, Victor somehow knew a loophole. We didn't learn till later on is because he was reading the blue immigration forms when he goes to see Dolores, where he has to get the light green ones. He's also been reading the blue ones. And Victor says he's confused in translation that the guy meant goat instead of father. So goat like Matt. He meant goat instead of father. And once Victor got him free, Dixon started roughhousing Victor and threatening him. Unfortunately, yet fortunately for Victor, unfortunately for Dixon, he was doing this in front of the superiors that were supposed to be observing him to move him up the ladder, give him a promotion. And he basically screwed it up at this point. Sorry. And here goes Gupta telling this very dramatic, from what I heard, it didn't even sound like it was anywhere close to the truth. But he tells this dramatic story, or a dramatic revision of the story of what happened with this whole situation to all the employees of the airport. They're looking at Victor like he's some sort of martyr at this point. Like, basically, he could be a walking, living goat that says bah, because they were looking at him like, oh. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they were all praising, super proud of Victor. And despite everything, despite all of that, Victor still being the great, amazing guy he is, he tries to give Dixon the wall ornament swordfish that he got from the poker games. Poor Dixon is so in his feelings about effing up his promotion. All he cares about is what is in that Planters can, the peanut can that Victor has. What's in there? I don't know what prompted Victor in this moment, but Victor comes up with a strategy to woo Amelia. He uses his friends to figure out when she's coming back. He uses his money to buy a suit from Hugo Boss. Like, hello, because let me tell you, a man coming in with some Hugo Boss, period, because I want him. While waiting for Amelia, Gupta tells his backstory of him attempting to kill a police officer back in India that was blackmailing him. If he gets deported, he would have to spend 7 years in prison. But he left behind his wife and children. Although I understand why he ran and I understand why he did what he did, but was that worth it that now the person that you was married to, out? The kids that you had, you couldn't raise them. I mean, at any point, did he not try to mail them or try to get them to come to America? Like, that didn't make any sense to me. His friends are blocking Amelia so that way Amelia bumps into Victor and lands on his lap. And he asks Amelia out and they have dinner on a balcony. Well, I don't know if it was a balcony, patio, whatever, at the airport. It was super romantic and she did get her cannoli. Everybody is helping out. All his friends are trying to make the perfect ambiance. To even Gupta is over here juggling for them and plates spinning and everything else. I thought that was just so cute. That was like probably my favorite scene. Amelia gives her life story, and she's been working for the airline since she was 18 years old, but she's 39 now, but she pretends to be 33, or at least she says to people she's 33. Meanwhile, the men that's flirting with her, they think that she's 27, and she just goes with it. And she's been dating Max for 7 years now, so she keeps her pager, her phone open for that phone call one day. That phone call that'll say, hey, I'm ready to leave my wife for you. And if it's not that, at least she's ready at all times for whenever he's like, hey, come home, or hey, let's go here, hey, let's do that. Delusional, if you ask me. Now, I did have a question. How does Amelia get into the airport if it's closed? This is after 9/11. If that's not in your head, this is after 9/11. How are you getting, like, before 9/11, from what I've been told at least, you could go into the airport and wait at the gate with people. So how are you getting into the airport after 9/11? Going in there after hours and you're suited and booted and you don't even need a ticket. I would like to know, okay? I would like to know. Enrique asks for a favor. We don't know what the favor is, but we do know that Victor goes and see Dolores. And the new stamp date is October 10th, 2004. So Victor has been in that terminal for 9 months. He got in there January 17th and is now October 10th. Can you imagine not having a proper shower? Because, mind you, this man is, we're assuming, right? We don't really know, but we're assuming. He is taking showers in the sink. There is plenty parts on his body that is not being thoroughly washed. Okay? He has not had a proper bed. I would have back problems by then. He has not had a proper bath. Skid marks all in. I'm so sorry. Skid marks all in his underwear. I don't care what nobody says. That man is nasty. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. He has been in there too long. He hasn't been able to go for a run. I mean, he could run in the terminal, but you know what I'm saying? He hasn't been able to go outside and just felt fresh air. Well, I guess there's that patio balcony where he took Amelia, but nonetheless, he has not been out. He has essentially been trapped in the house, like how we were all trapped in the house during the COVRD. So, yeah, felt bad for him. Remember I was telling y'all earlier how I hated this plot line between Dolores, Victor, and Enrique? This put the cherry on top. It seemed, and I'm going to talk to you, Steven Spielberg. I mean, I don't know if you wrote this movie per se, but nonetheless, you directed it. It did not make sense that Victor presented a ring to Dolores And we have no back history to know if Enrique and her have even met yet. And she's denying the ring and saying, no, I'm at work. I'm at work. This don't make sense. How does that make sense? Because it don't. You're telling me that a friend of my man has delivered my ring to me. I don't know I was getting a ring, but you deliver a wedding ring, engagement ring, whatever, to me. And I'm too caught up at work or can't escape work to then go and accept a proposal from my man? And you're telling me he's not even like standing around the corner, standing behind the chairs, squatting, none of that, to then present me my ring or to be like, surprise, baby, what do you say? No, don't make sense. The whole Dolores and Enrique thing does not make sense. I understand they was trying to make Victor seem like this guy that's, oh, he's such an amazing person. He will do this for us. He hooked us up. No, I'm telling you, it was an epic fail. No. Didn't work. Did not work. Well, obviously it did work. Jokes on us. It did work because they ended up getting married. And let me choose my words carefully. I will be gosh darn to be getting married to my husband whom we both work in an airport. And we're getting married here too. Not happening. You're telling me my happiest moment in my life of getting married to my soulmate, and I'm doing it at the place that I already have to clock in and day out? To my future husband, do not ever propose to me while I'm in my security uniform at my job. That they didn't make sense at all. They did not. Amelia gets picked up at customs by Thurman and Dixon. She's interrogated. It seemed like to us Dixon wasn't getting the answers that he wanted, but it must not have been very good, their interrogation, because she ends up popping up and she's like, what is this? You lied to me. So he shows the gift that he had planned on giving to her, because he was waiting for her that day. She said she would be back in 3 weeks. He waited for her that day. This was his moment to finally show her the gift. He shows it to her, and it's a handmade fountain he built just for her. Yet again, Victor, who told you that this fountain matched the aesthetic of our airport? Like, how you just gonna come in here and do what you want to do? No, sir. You did it with the wall. No one told you to put those, what they call it? I don't even know what to call it. I don't know what they call it at this point, but yeah, no one told you to put those borders and what do they call the square inside the square? Forget it. Nonetheless, Victor, no one told you to do that. This is your second time now where you are building stuff, recreating stuff in the way that you see fit. Sir, negative. So Amelia gets emotional and she starts interrogating him. Why are you here? What is the real reason? And it really showed in this moment how maybe, you know what, just maybe she is a Napoleon. Because yes, it was a language barrier between the two of them, but the fact remains that she wasn't listening to him. She wasn't trying, and she really tried to put it all off on Victor, like he was the one just straight up lying. And I'm not saying that there's not moments where he was hiding some of the truth, but he was trying to be honest and real with her, and she just came up with assumptions in her own mind. So maybe, just maybe, she is like Napoleon. Just lost in the freaking sauce. He decides in this moment, this is the time for me to reveal what's in the peanut can. And what's in the peanut can is, it contains a copy of the Great Day in Harlem photograph. And his late father was a jazz enthusiast who had discovered the famous portrait in a Hungarian newspaper in 1958 and vowed to collect the autographs of all 57 of the musicians featured in it. He died before he could get the last one from the tenor saxophonist Benny Golson, and Victor had come to New York to do so. So it was a beautiful story on why he was doing it. He was trying to fulfill his father's promise. And it, let me tell you, it must have did a little razzle dazzle to Amelia, because she went over there and passionately kissed him. I mean, he also threw in a little bit at the end, like, oh, I've been waiting for you, which honestly was a little absurd. Look, it was a little it's a little absurd, Victor, because even in the best scenario, let's just talk about the scenario that you're currently in. You're currently not a citizen anywhere. Nowhere. You can't even leave this airport. And in the best scenario, do you really think that she's going to now move to Krakosia, the place that just had a war, to come and be and live with you? We don't even know how you really dress. I believe you learned how to dress because you knew who you were dealing with, but we don't really know what you're like at home. Hell, we don't even know what type of job you have at home. Therefore, we don't know what type of money you're bringing in at home. And she has a man who lives in New York City who is married and also taking care of her. I don't care what nobody says. Any man that's buying hotels left and right like that, you're automatically for one night spending a minimum to $300 to $500, and he's doing that on the regular to be with her. Even if she was getting free hotels because she's a flight attendant, that's still, the fact remains, she ain't no just down simple chick. She is bougie, and let me tell you, we do not know what Victor provides and brings to the table. So I don't know if he could have handled that bougie woman. And if you can't like what I just said, then you just not being real. You're just not, and you're not on that level yourself to understand. Sorry if I'm insulting anybody, but it's just the truth. Facts. The war is over, honey. It's over. And Victor's over here celebrating. Everybody in the whole terminal is celebrating with him. I mean, he's over there on tables with his beer like, ah! Amelia comes, she's excited for him, and she gives him a gift, and she's like, here you go. And he's like, what is this? And she says, this is an emergency day pass to go into New York, do what you need to do for your daddy. But my friend is the one who got this for you because he works in Washington. Victor figures it out. He's like, friend? That friend? Yeah, and that friend was Max. Amelia is one of those people where she does things out of emotions. Like, she doesn't think it all the way through. She just reacts. So that's why we see her cry and, oh my god, I must really love him because he does this. It's all out of emotions, and that's why the next day then it's like she snaps out of it, and then she just goes right back to the same thing that she was already doing. Amelia just, she got on my nerves. I mean, even though there wouldn't have been a chance with her and Victor anyway, because like I already pointed out earlier, but still, like she's an idiot. I'm sorry, Amelia is dumb. Victor takes the document to Dolores because once again this is where he goes to get his updates and all this other stuff. And Dolores explains that the document is not signed, and in order for it to be signed, it would need to be signed by Dixon, which we already know Dixon ain't gonna sign this. But Victor does try to ask for it, and Dixon explains that he's putting him on the first flight back and gives him his ticket and passport. Now, I wasn't really 100% sure because Dixon was packing up his office. I wasn't sure if he got the promotion or did he get a demotion. Obviously he got, I don't know if he received a demotion per se, but he definitely did not get the promotion. But it was just only because he was packing up his office I was a little confused. He has incriminating evidence against all of Victor's friends. Therefore, when Victor decides, okay, I'll leave so that way no one else gets in trouble, the person who was affected the most, which shocked me as well, was Gupta. I did not think, because Gupta was so suspicious of Victor the whole time, I was shocked that he was the most affected. But obviously it'd be like that. It'd be the one that you least expect that cares the most about you. Like, they're really hard to break into their walls, but once you do, it's like it's everlasting, and that's what Gupta was. So the cute black officer who was actually in the room with Victor and Dixon is the one who told Gupta the truth about why Victor wasn't leaving to New York. I kid you not, I thought Gupta was really running to his death. The way he was running towards the plane, I was like, oh, he's trying to kill himself. But he wasn't. He really was delaying Victor's flight, and I love that. I hate that he probably, it doesn't say, of course, afterwards if he got deported, but I'm sure he did. And I hate that he was going to get deported and have to spend 7 years in prison, because we don't know how old Gupta was, but I'm assuming that man was close to death. Okay. Everyone, including the officers, encouraged and allowed Victor into New York City. Now, they were supposed to be following the rules of Dixon, but even Officer Thurman understood this is getting too far. I mean, it's ridiculous. So they all let him through. They all gave him stuff so he could go, and it was just a beautiful moment. He sees Amelia one last time, which, once again, I hate that he saw her because she's so dumb. Like, the end of the movie is Victor goes to the Ramada Inn. And the way that Dixon had said it to Amelia earlier, he made it seem like, oh, why does he have a room at the Ramada Inn? But it actually turned out to be that Benny is a reoccurring jazz player at that hotel. So he plays live music there. And Benny, Mr. Benny, you could have signed that paper or signed whatever it was that Victor was trying to get you to sign right in that moment. Like, how hard is it for him to scribble his name, you know? How hard is it to scribble your name in 5 seconds? Like, you could have signed it. He was just being a jerk. That was actually my interpretation of Benny, was he was being a jerk. I am glad that Victor got to listen to him, but if Victor was on a timeline or had to rush back to the airport, it wouldn't have worked out. And see, yeah, but whatever. It worked out in the end. He did get his signature. Victor kept his promise to his dad. And the movie ends and he goes back to the airport so he can go home to Kokoja. And that was it. That was it, you guys. Now, I will have to say, let's talk about Dixon for a second. My take on it is that at first, Dixon was definitely doing his job. I mean, he was following the rules. I mean, even with his job, he took it very seriously. He did all the right things. He had the eye for it, you know, whatever. I understood that he needed this, you know, almost perfect view of him in order to get this position that was opening, because there was actually certain points where he did try to help Victor. So it's like, we can't just put him in this box of he was the villain the whole time, even though he was. It's just at the end of the day, he cared more about what was coming to him, and he didn't want nobody or nothing to mess it up. But in the meantime, he was so rude and so cruel to Victor. I mean, starving a human being for not doing anything, but simply just because he's there and is forced to be against his will, against your will, against everybody's will, and you're just gonna starve somebody. That's what made him a villain. But nonetheless, he did try to help. But Dixon was a very complex character that that just shows you that people in this world do not have any empathy for just regular humans, you know. And at the end, I did understand why Dixon was coming so hard for Victor, because it's at that point, even though it was Dixon's fault, but in his mind, he blamed Victor for why he didn't get that promotion. And so it makes sense why he wanted him gone as soon as possible, because it's like, I don't want to keep looking at you. You're the reminder of why I'm in this circumstance. And I don't know, all that's just not right. It's not fair, it's not cool, it's not right. We finished it, you guys. We finished this movie. What did you think of this movie? Did I do a good job picking a more uplifting yet really good movie? If you believe so, put it down in the comments. I want to hear your feedback on it. Like I said, I tried to pick something that was more lighthearted, more fun, because these last couple of movies were triggers, okay? If you wasn't triggered by the first two, you was definitely pissed off by the third one, and I know that for a fact. I know my peoples, y'all know me, y'all definitely was affected by that third movie, because I was over here pissed. That whole the Founder movie just took me out. So I'm so happy that you guys stayed with me throughout this video. If you have any other movies that you would like to suggest, put them down in the comments below. I have some movies that I have for us upcoming, but afterwards I'm gonna be taking y'all's recommendation, because I want y'all to recommend good movies to me, just like I'm recommending good movies to you guys. Thank you guys so much. I also want to point out, in case you wasn't watching or you missed it, we are going to be using the goat emoji, since Victor was a goat bat. We are going to use that as the emoji. So make sure that you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever social media platform you can find me at LorenEleece. And I want you to use this emoji so that way you can let me know that you watched this particular video. But if you're just a part of the run that back crew, I want you to put the rewind button and the VHS emoji as well. Thank you guys so much. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you do like my video. It will help me get into the algorithm. This is a newer channel. As you know, I used to do this back in the day, trying to do 90 Day Fiance, and now here we are, we're talking about movies. So like this video so that way other people can see this and we can have more people a part of the run that back crew. I don't know what our name is going to be. Y'all really need to help me figure this out, what our thing is. But I mean, hey, hashtag WRTB all day, every day. So thank you so much, you guys. I love you. I'm gonna see y'all in the next video, which, by the way, let's hold up before you go. Pause. All right. So the movie that we're going to actually do next is going to be Closer. If you have not seen this movie, it's actually another movie from 2004. It's starring Natalie Portman. It's starring Julia Roberts. I don't know the two men's names. Y'all see the movie right here. So that is the movie that we're going to be watching for next time, which will actually be tomorrow. I will be posting the video tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific Coast time. So 8 p.m. Central and 9 p.m. Eastern time. This movie here is going to blow your mind, okay? Because it's entanglement at its finest, like entanglement, okay? If you want to watch Closer for tomorrow's video, you can check out the movie on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. It is free on Hulu. If you don't have Hulu, you can pay for it on Amazon Prime, and you can also pay for it on YouTube. So I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow for another episode. Wait, run that back. It's your girl LorenEleece, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.